Hi, I'm Bob Boden, Executive Vice President, Production and Development at Allen Media Group, and Executive Producer of the syndicated comedy celebrity game show, Funny You Should Ask, and the co-founder of the National Archives of Game Show History at the Strong National Museum of Play. I'm looking forward to joining Jim Masters as his special guest on the Jim Masters Show Live, entertainment, lifestyle, celebrity talk show series, starting right now.
Everybody, welcome to the Jim Masters Show Live, entertainment, lifestyle, celebrity talk show series. Good to see everybody tuning in from all around the world live. We're here on the East Coast of the United States in the New York area. That's where our broadcast central is for JMS. Thanks for tuning in and all the great love and support and comments and feedback about our entertainment, lifestyle, celebrity talk show series. We absolutely love it. We're touched by it and continue to spread the word about the Jim Masters Show Live series, where we celebrate extraordinary celebrity friends and guests and special guests and so much more who join us in great conversations, entertainment, lots of surprises. And now today on this episode, you saw that little preview clip there. Bob Boden is joining us here, and he's a legend in the television and game show and reality business and so much more. You may remember he was with us just recently when we did a very special celebrity-filled, special guest-filled episode and tribute celebrating one of the icons in entertainment, Peter Marshall, host of Hollywood Squares and a wonderful actor and singer who we just lost a couple of weeks ago. And Bob was a part of that special with John Davidson and Mark Summers and Randy West and Jeffrey Mark and Claudia Kagan, supervising producer of Entertainment Tonight, who's going to be with us tomorrow here on our show. Chris Corman from, of course, he is the son of Harvey Korman from the Carol Burnett Show and Blazing Saddles and so much more. He was with us. You can go back in the archives and check that episode out. But we are going to be talking about the illustrious career that continues today of Bob Boden. When we were taking a look at some of the materials, you know, the B-roll and the footage and the photos, it was unreal. I forgot about so many incredible things that he has been involved in, and he has touched our lives in so many different ways, made us smile, made us think, made us laugh in the world of television. And we're so honored to have him here. He's a very busy guy. We have him for a certain amount of time because he's very, very busy, but we are very excited to have him here on the show. And he is an icon in the industry, Emmy-nominated producer of some of TV's favorite game shows, reality shows, and so much more. I just want to tell you a little bit about the background, and then we will bring him right on. As Emmy nominee, Bob Boden's career has continued. It has in fine fashion in all forms of nonfiction and unscripted alternative television programming. He's included senior management production functions for a variety of television studios, networks, production companies as well. Frequently acknowledged as an industry leader in the game and reality genres. He's been a creator, showrunner, writer, and consultant on over 100 television series and specials for primetime, daytime, late night, and children's programming. He's helped launch 3 cable networks and has been an executive in broadcast, cable, and syndication for a long time. Bob has produced, launched, and consulted on shows in 12 countries. He is also currently Executive Vice President, Production and Development for, he's working with, of course, the incredible Byron Allen. Remember Byron Allen from Real People? Well, Byron Allen is one of the most prolific entertainment producers and so much more. And he's with the Allen Media Group as Executive Vice President of Production and Development with 8 HD networks, including the Weather Channel, dozens of first-run syndicated shows, over 5,000 hours of HD programming, film distribution, as well as a podcast network and more. And Bob also serves as executive producer of the syndicated celebrity comedy game show Funny You Should Ask, a post he has had since 2017. And this is just the short list, folks, here on the program. We're going to be going through his iconic career and great style. We have video, we have all kinds of photos to show you. But of course, more importantly, we have Bob himself here on the show. Just want to let you know as well, prior to everything I just described, he was a consulting producer on the primetime series To Tell the Truth on ABC, Superhuman on Fox, and co-executive producer on Boom on Fox. Previously, he was executive producer, showrunner of the Game Show Network's primetime series The Chase, an adaptation of the popular UK format owned by ITV Studios. And the series was Game Show Network's highest rated original series for over 4 seasons and received 3 Emmy nominations, as well as nominations for Breakthrough Award and Real Screen Awards, and lots more for Best Competition Show. Bob also earned the Top Innovation Award from Hasbro for his work on Family Game Night. And on the executive side, he served as Senior Vice President, Production Development for Hasbro Studios, Senior Vice President, Programming, Production, and Development for the Fox Reality Channel, Senior Vice President, Programming for Game Show Network, Vice President, Development and Production for Fox or FX Networks, and also Vice President, Daytime Programming for the Family Channel. Yeah, all these great places, right? Director, Daytime Development for ABC, and Program Executive, Daytime for CBS, as well as stints with Mark Goodson Productions, Barry Enright Productions, consulting roles at Endemol, Shine, Warner Horizon, Telepictures, NBC Studios, HBO, Sony Pictures. I told you he has been involved in just about all aspects. Lionsgate, Fremantle Media, National Geographic Channel, DirecTV, ITV Studios, the list goes on. And Vin DeBona Productions. While at Game Show Network, he created and oversaw the documentary Big Bucks, The Press Your Luck Scandal, which scored the highest rating in the network's history, a record that was held over 9 years. He's also produced for great series like Greed, Challenge of the Child Geniuses, Who is the Smartest Kid in America, Game of Life, Scrabble Showdown. Unbelievable. He's worked with all the greats too, Dick Clark and all the terrific hosts, Peter Marshall, so many others, Bob Barker. He's worked on American Idol Extra, Solitary, don't forget The Lyrics, Husbands of Hollywood, The Academy, Reality Remix, and on, Home and Family, of course, on the Hallmark Channel, the Nova Quiz. It's extraordinary when you see his body of work. He's been doing this right out of the gate, started early. He's also worked on many of the classic television series formats that we love, including The Price is Right, Jeopardy, Match Game, The $25,000 Pyramid, Let's Make a Deal, Press Your Luck, Make Me Laugh, Queen for a Day. And he's consulted on shows including The Ellen DeGeneres Show, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader, and Million Second Quiz. And as mentioned as well, he's with the Strong Museum of Play. We're going to be talking about that. That's something really, really special. He co-founded the National Archives of Game Show History in 2021. And 2026, of course, he's also involved with the Strong National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York, which is an extraordinary place. He also teaches at UCLA. He's done that too. And that is just the short list, folks. We're going to welcome him here on the show. I can go on and on with the accolades and so much more. He, of course, has his production company, which is TV Bob Productions. Don't you love that? It's perfect. That probably is his real license plate, too. Let's welcome our illustrious guest coming to us from California, where the action is and entertainment, our great friend, Bob Boden, joining us here on the program. Bob, an honor and a pleasure. Welcome to the show. I am at Ralph Edwards, and this is your life.
Thank you, Jim. I'm exhausted hearing all the stuff I've done. I must be 1,000 years old from all those titles you mentioned. But,
either that or you started when you were in your bassinet, maybe, right?
Well, I'm still here.
He is still here, and it's really extraordinary. Before we get into some of the scenario of the actual shows and things of that nature, as a child, Were you enamored by the television shows and all the series? Did you grow up a TV kid? I know I did, and I'm so blessed to work in the broadcast industry as well. And I know you are too, and you pay such great respect to it, which I think is a beautiful thing as you produce all these great shows. But was this something that when you were a kid running around the house, you just loved television and movies?
Well, television, yes. I am an only child, and my best friend, my brother, was the TV set. And growing up, I was enamored by a whole variety of shows, most of them game shows. And I was lucky enough to grow up in New York, which at the time was a focal point of production for game shows. So when I was 6, I noted that on the tickets that they distributed for different shows that were taping in New York, that the minimum age was 6 to go see Password. Password is a classic game show that was created long before then and is still on the air today. It's a very simple but fun word game. And I convinced my mom to take me as soon as I turned 6, and she did. And I remember being in that audience at the Ed Sullivan Theater in New York, which is where Stephen Colbert does his show now. And I remember saying to her that day, this is what I want to do. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know if I wanted to be in front of the camera, behind the camera. I just loved the excitement, the lights, the music, the colors. My TV set at home was black and white. So here I am watching this show in color for the first time. And it just, it moved me. And I never looked back. I mean, from that day forward, it has been my life mission to find my way into the game show world. My parents were registered nurses, so I had no connections in the business, no foot forward, but a lot of ambition, a lot of passion, and here I am, almost 60 years later, still doing what I love.
Still doing what you love, which is really a true blessing. And you got a chance to attend some of the tapings of some of the great legendary game shows as well, that's a cool experience to be able to do that, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, as a kid, it's magic. I mean, here's these shows that are on TV, and then I can go see them in real life. And at that time, a lot of game shows were shooting in New York. This was in the mid 60s and into the 70s, which was the heyday of game shows, except today when they're all back. So there I was, watching in person shows like Jeopardy and Concentration and Password and every show you can imagine that taped in New York. I found my way to see it. As I got older and I went to high school, Pyramid came on the air in 73, and that was shot in New York, and I went to that many, many times. That was a favorite of mine. So I was a regular whenever there wasn't school, either a weekend or after school or a holiday, and in the summer I was there 2-3 times a week seeing different shows. So it was my passion, my extracurricular. I never went to summer camp. I just went to game shows. That was my summer camp.
And you attended UCLA, right, upon moving to Los Angeles and attending like all these game shows and other productions. UCLA was the school for you, right?
Well, when I was graduating high school, right around that time, I realized that the game shows were starting to move out of New York to LA, quite a few of them, and that new productions were starting in LA instead of New York. And I realized that if I wanted to be a part of this industry for real, I had to follow it. So I applied for UCLA. I was fortunate enough to get accepted and packed up my suitcase. I'd never been further west than the than I think the furthest west I'd been was Pittsburgh or Chicago, and there I was landing in LA all by myself, and found a place to live in the dorm, and I started my life, my new life, when I arrived that day. So I was very fortunate.
Oh, absolutely right. And it's such a important time when television still dominated, and all these great shows being produced and created, and everybody falling in love with all these great series and specials, and of course the game shows, still beloved today, to the point where networks like GSN and Buzzer and others created, celebrating them too. There was a moment where somebody very iconic sort of played a role a little bit, and that is the incomparable Lucille Ball. Tell us about the Lucy connection, Bob.
Well, when I was at UCLA, there was an opportunity to sign up to be in an audience for a live broadcast of an NBC daytime show called America Alive. A very short-lived show, not all that memorable. But they decided, it was based in New York, they decided to come out to LA for one episode to do a Q&A session with Lucille Ball and students of the UCLA theater department. So I signed up. I prepared a question that I could ask Lucy, and I think you have a video of that question.
We actually do, and I remember seeing the full presentation, and it really is a very cool sort of like masterclass that she was sort of giving. Here it is, folks. Take a look at this. This was going back to 1978 with that show America Alive, and this is Lucille Ball.
Young man here, stand right up.
My name is Robert Boden from Flushing, New York.
Hello. Oh, yeah. Hi, Bob.
And first of all, I'd like to say it's a pleasure seeing you in person after so many years on television.
Thank you. I look a lot older, don't I?
Better.
Thank you. I fish for that one.
I'd like to know if you were ever offered a variety series, and
many times.
Did you ever consider doing it?
No.
And what do you think is the state of variety on television
I think it's
now?
terrific, but they aren't doing too well in the ratings. But then what the hell is? Everything is having trouble in the ratings. They can't seem to find themselves. But the reason that I don't cotton after a real variety show is that I don't want to just be a mistress of ceremonies, and I need more to be able to sing and dance on the spur of the moment, like a lot of people, Shirley MacLaine and people like that, to be a good variety hostess or performer. But I know you're interested in variety.
Yeah.
Now, you want to direct it or act in it?
Well, anything I can get.
Well, for starters, you better learn how to do something and not just say anything I can get, because they got a lot of sweeping up to do. They give you a broom, and they say, well, it's show business.
What would you like to see on television nowadays?
I spend most of my time with PBS. I really do. Hey! The public service programs have been capturing my interest because of a lack of other things, and I'm seeing the same thing over again in the other. It's not that I dislike it.
We're still commercial, Lucy,
Oh,
and we've
Jack,
got to pause
you're such
for
a
one
bore.
until you get...
I remember seeing that. I watched that video about a year ago, and now I'm putting the two and two together that was you.
Oh, wow.
How cool is that? Wow.
Well, yeah. What I didn't know was that would be my big break in showbiz. And immediately after the show, a wonderful gentleman named Barney McNulty came up to me. He's the man who invented cue cards. Okay, if you're familiar with cue cards, they're the big cardboard cards that are used to cue actors, performers, hosts, etc. They're still used in a lot of different shows. They've been somewhat replaced by electronic devices like teleprompters. But he was the cue card guy that day on that show, and he came up to me after the show and he said, I really liked your question, and I've got some work for you. And the very next day, I started my career in television, working as a cue card guy on a George Burns special. And I was working at the legendary studio Television City, CBS Television City, Studio 33, which is very famous, very well known as the home of many, many dozens of variety shows and game shows. And so there I am in the thick of it, learning a new craft, working in a place that I always dreamt of visiting, and never looked back from that either. And that turned into so many new opportunities over the next few years and decades.
And you had internships as well at CBS and research, and also with The Price is Right, huh?
Yeah, well, in college, I had 2 opportunities to do an internship. The first one was the CBS research department. A great guy named Tom Watson, who's still with us. He answered a random phone call from me as a student looking for data for a project I was doing for school, and he gave me all the ratings information I requested. I asked if I could stay in touch with him over time as my paper continued to evolve. He said, call me anytime, and I did, and then we wound up having lunch and becoming friends. And after I got my first job doing research at Paramount, which I got because I had been an intern at CBS, and he didn't know what an internship was, by the way. I had to tell Tom what it was, and he and his boss, Arnold Becker, hired me to be an intern, and then I went to work for Paramount. And when I graduated, and a year later, Tom left the CBS, went to work for Lucille Ball, ironically, and he called me and said, I think you might be able to get my job if you want it. So there I was now, a manager of national television research for CBS. The other internship I did was on The Price is Right, and that was something I had to chase down because they didn't know anything about internships either. But I made a cold call to Roger Dobkowitz, who was the producer for at that time and lasted for 35 years on the show. I'm still pals with Roger, and he referred me to the executive producer, Frank Wayne. I called his assistant, Cheryl, and I said, hi, I'm looking for an internship if it's possible. She said, I'll mention it to Frank, and we'll get back to you if we want to do something. I asked if I could call back, and she said, okay. And then I called her every week for 6 months until Frank got on the phone, and he said in his gruff voice, he says, listen, kid, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want, but if I give you this internship job, will you leave me alone? I promised I would, and I started the following week as an intern on The Price is Right in my final semester, my final quarter at UCLA. So that was amazing. And then a show that I was assigned to doing cue cards was a new reality show when reality shows weren't really even a thing, but it was a show about real people. And aptly, it was called Real People. And it was a kind of a combination news and entertainment comedy show highlighting unusual people who had unusual jobs, hobbies. And there I was working on that show. And I got to meet one of the co-hosts of the show named Byron Allen. And, park that reference. I'm going to come back to it in a little bit.
There's Price is Right, too.
So
yeah.
Here I am on the staff picture of The Price is Right. I'm second from the right there.
Right.
I was there for the 10th anniversary of the show. It's now in starting season 53. And on Real People, I actually convinced the producers, George Schlaughter and his team, that I knew somebody who would be an interesting story on Real People because I knew a guy who was obsessed with game shows, and they said, "Oh, that's interesting. You know, how can we find out more about this guy?" And I said, "Well, it's me. So come to my dorm room and look at what I've got." And my dorm room was plastered with TV tickets, because that was a hobby of mine, was to collect those. So lo and behold, Skip Stevenson, who you just saw a picture of me with, he was one of the hosts. He's left us, but he was in my dorm room interviewing me, and I got to be a part of a segment of the show.
And we have a clip of that too, as well. Did you want to set that up a little bit?
Sure. Well, there were 4 hosts of Real People. It was Sarah Purcell, Skip Stevenson, John Barber, and Byron Allen. And they would do a little patter introducing a segment. Then they would show a videotape of that individual, the real person, if you will, and then come back and make some more commentary. So the whole thing is posted on YouTube under Real People. The date was January 21st, 1981, which happened to be my birthday. And if you want to just show a minute of it,
yeah,
just to tease it.
Absolutely. Taking you back to 1981, to Bob's birthday, back in January of that year. Real People, which that is so incredible.
Thank you.
Everybody's saying, wait a minute, that was him on that too?
Well,
the kid from Flushing makes good, I tell you.
Right place at the right time, Jim.
That was really, yeah, you were really passionate about the industry at a very early age, and you got to, pursue the path, pursue the dream in such a beautiful way. I think it's really, really something very, very special. There's something else too that we need to slip in here, and it involves the dating game. You actually appeared on the dating game too?
Well, that was
proof.
There we are. There I am, bachelor number 3. There was a dare among the guys on my dorm floor at UCLA about who could get on the dating game. My roommate and I and one other guy challenged each other to see who could get on the dating game, and we all got on the dating game. I know I lost. I think my roommate lost too, and I think the other guy lost also. So we were common losers, but it was a great experience. It was really fun. I kind of embarrassed myself, and good luck in finding the tape. But every experience that I've had has taught me something and has allowed me to do what I do better. And the whole genre of relationship television came back to help me later on in my career as I developed shows in that area. So, I might have been dateless, but I still got something out of it.
You got on the dating game, I tell you. National exposure. Got a chance to see how the show's made and the production, and that's really cool stuff. Also had an opportunity to work with this show, huh? Queen for a Day.
Yeah,
there was a PA job.
Yep, my first PA job, production assistant out of college, was on a pilot for a new version of Queen for a Day. Queen for a Day went back to the 50s, and it's a show that isn't all that well received today because it's really not it's not PC, if you will, in today's world. It was about women who were on hard times, who were competing with each other to win lavish prizes because they had been heroes or helped their community, their family, their friends, their neighbors. And it was a bit of a sob story, but it was a hugely popular show for over a decade. And it had gone away, it had come back, it had gone away again. And there was another attempt to bring it back in 81. And I got to know one of the producers of that pilot. And again, I learned a lot. The show never made it to air. And one of the things I learned is that most pilots don't make it to air. But that was also a great experience. And shortly after that, I got my first corporate job, if you will, at Paramount Studios. I went to the Career Placement Center at UCLA, and there were a bunch of little index cards that listed different jobs that were available. And one was a research assistant job at Paramount. I had some research experience at CBS, so I applied for it, interviewed. I'm still friends with the gentleman who hired me. Took a big chance on me because I had very limited experience, but he saw my passion, and I had enough of a facility with numbers that he thought I could survive in that job. And it was all going quite well until I heard back from CBS that there was an opportunity there, and that was something I couldn't pass up. But during my time at Paramount, one of my coworkers happened to be good friends with Weird Al Yankovic, and he had talked to her about his desire to do a parody video about a song called Our Love's in Jeopardy, which was a song from the Greg Kihn Band. And he wanted to do a parody called I Lost on Jeopardy, which was going to be taking place in a version of the original Jeopardy set. Keep in mind, in 1982, Jeopardy was not on the air. It had gone off in 79. And so there wasn't much of a market to have pictures of the original set of Jeopardy. That version had gone off in 75. And so Weird Al just randomly said to this woman, Mimi, he said, hey, if you ever run into anybody who might have pictures of the Jeopardy set, I don't know how that happened. And she said, you know what? There's a guy in our office who's a game show fan. Let me ask him. I happen to have photos of the original Jeopardy set. I gave them to her. She gave them to him. Called me to thank me for it because he was going to build a replica of the set based on those photos. And he said, hey, what do you want for this? What can I pay you? And I said, don't pay me. Just please put me in the video if there's a spot for me. And sure enough, he put me in the I Lost on Jeopardy video. You don't need to show it. It's all over the place on YouTube. But I am the stage manager. So there's a couple of shots of me. There's one second of the video where I'm the only one on screen. Very odd, after they carried Weird Al off the set because he lost on Jeopardy. But anyway, that was a blast. And the punchline to the story, you showed my picture with Weird Al from 83, I think that was. Well, many years later, 40 plus years later, Weird Al did a TV movie that won an Emmy for Best Television Movie last year. And I went to a screening of it, and Weird Al was meeting the audience and shaking hands. And I went up to him and I said, hi, Al, it's Bob Boden here, thinking for sure he had no recollection of who I was. It had been a long time. And he said, TV Bob, how have you been? And we just had a moment, took that picture, and it just made me feel so warm that a guy of his stature would even have any recollection whatsoever of who I was or what my nickname was. So that was a real wonderful moment last year.
Moment. Absolutely. Just going back a little bit, we pulled up this too. That is from that Real People segment. That is extremely incredible, that wall, huh?
Yeah.
So for the people watching, what's actually on the wall?
Well, it's 900 tickets for TV shows. And
they're all yours?
They're all, what you could do is go up to any studio or network that tape television shows, and go up to the ticket window and request tickets. They were free. And so I went to many shows, but I figured, well, maybe I could collect these TV tickets.
Right.
So instead of asking for one ticket or two tickets, I would ask for 6, and then come back the next day and ask for 12 more, and then the next day 8 more. And so I wound up having over 8,000 tickets at this point, and I thought it would be great wallpaper. It's very colorful.
Yeah.
It's a souvenir of my world. And
Do you still have them?
oh yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah, they're in a cabinet right
Yeah.
next to me over here.
Did you collect TV guides too? I collected TV guides through the years.
I did. You know, I didn't want to, for whatever reason, which is probably a dumb reason, I didn't want to take up a lot of space. So I didn't collect TV guides as a whole TV guide. I collected the covers. So I would buy TV guide, rip off the cover, and I would put that in an album. And I started doing that in 1970 when I was 11. And I kept doing it until TV Guide went from the little digest size to the full-size magazine, which was, I think, about 15 years ago.
Right, exactly.
So I collected TV Guide covers, not the whole TV guides, but tickets were my thing. And there's not a ton of ticket collectors. There's a great guy named Joel Tater who's known as Mr. Tickets. He's got 100 times more tickets than I'll ever see. But I had my 9,000. I put 10% of them up on the wall. It convinced real people to come by, and that was that.
Unbelievable, I tell you. And of
So
course, working with so many great game shows too, Bob. $25,000 Pyramid, and here's a great shot of you here.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm at CBS now, okay? And CBS has a morning block of game shows and one in the afternoon. And I started in research. I was chosen for a management trainee program, which was unbelievably helpful to my career because I learned everything you could learn about programming in the course of a year. And then they asked me what department I wanted to work in, and I chose daytime because that's where all the game shows were based. Mm-hmm. And so I got this job as a program executive in daytime. I got to supervise the production of many of the shows. The first one they gave me was Press Your Luck. And then I did the $25,000 Pyramid. I worked with The Price is Right. I was working with Card Sharks with Bob Eubanks. It was a dream come true. I mean, these are shows that I watched as a kid in high school, and there I am. That shot you just showed was me as a contestant on a rehearsal for the first pilot of Jeopardy, which had a completely different set.
Yeah.
And then they did a second pilot, which was the black and white picture, and I was a run-through contestant on that too. There's me with Alex, not in a suit. So I got to do that. That was phenomenal. And then I lasted at CBS almost 5 years, supervising the shows, working with a great team headed up by Michael Brockman and Barbara Hunter. And we developed a number of shows, did some pilots. Ultimately, I got an offer to leave CBS to work at a production company, which was well known, named Barry and Enright Productions. And Barry and Enright was a production company that went back to the 50s and was involved in the quiz show scandal era. It's well documented by various TV specials and the quiz show, which is all about the behind the scenes at the show 21, which was produced by Barry and Enright. It's a fictionalized version. There's parts of it that are exaggerated a bit. So I was working directly with Dan Enright. Jack Barry by that time had passed away, so I didn't get to know him. But I worked directly with Dan, and I was working with his development team, Mike Bevan, Gary Jonke, and we developed a bunch of shows, did a couple of pilots, and I got to work on a really fun show called Bumper Stumpers, which was shot in Canada. And one day they surprised me, and the concept of the show was which of these two license plates describes a certain person. And they surprised me one day, and they put my license plate up there. That is my license plate, TV Bob. And the correct answer was Close Ties, which is the other license plate, because TV Bob would not be the answer to a clue. But
you are so lucky to have gotten TV Bob so early. You know how many people probably that work in the industry wish they had TV Bob?
Yeah, there's a lot of Bobs I run into.
Even Bob Barker didn't have TV Bob.
Well, there's a funny story about that. There was a contestant who came on down on The Price is Right when I was working at CBS, and I had parked my car that day out in front of the main entrance of CBS, and I guess the contestants for Price is Right walked by there, and she gets called down on The Price is Right, and she goes to Bob Barker. Bob, I'm so excited to see you. I think I saw your car outside. Is your license plate TV Bob? And he didn't even, he knew me because I worked there, but he didn't know that was my license plate. And he found it amusing that somebody would think that he had a license plate named TV Bob. But I later told him that was my license plate. So I was at Barry and Enright, and then my boss, who had been at CBS, Michael Brockman, he left CBS and went to work at ABC, and he was building his team there. And he called me. I had worked for Barry and Enright for about a year and a half, and he called me and he said, I'm guessing you're happy there, but if you want to come back and work for me at ABC, I can find a position for you. And I jumped at that chance. The idea of working with Michael again was very appealing to me. And ABC was in transition in daytime. They were looking to fill a slot with a game show. And I knew I could learn a lot from being involved, not just with game shows, but I was in charge of a daily talk show called The Home Show, which was live. And got to work with Woody Fraser, which was quite a trip. So I went to work for Michael at ABC. We did 10 pilots to try to find the right game show for that open slot. And at the end of all that, we decided to go with a new version of Match Game, which is a classic show that goes back to the 60s. And the original host of Match Game was Gene Rayburn. At that point, wanted to find a new host, and a great host, Bert Convey, did the pilot for the ABC version of Match Game. But after the pilot, he took ill and wasn't able to host the series, so we hired Ross Schaefer to do that. Ross was great to work with. The show only lasted about a year, and it suffered from low ratings and low clearances, meaning that many stations in the country didn't run it because it was on at noon, and a lot of stations, ABC stations, had news at noon, didn't want to give that up. So Match Game suffered from that. But
was it hard to get people to get used to Ross, because for so many years they were used to Gene Rayburn?
Well, yes, I think a lot of purists felt that you couldn't do Match Game without Gene Rayburn because he'd been the host since the early 60s. But time marches on, and we wanted fresh blood. Gene wasn't all that happy about it, to be honest. But to the extent that anyone could fill his shoes, I think Ross Schaefer did a great job. I think he did he was very friendly, very warm, funny, and interacted well with the talent. And you can't always go back in time. Sometimes you have to express a connection to a new audience, and that's what we were trying to do.
You also worked on Pictionary as well, too, right?
Pictionary was back at Barry and Enright. Yeah, that was a version of the board game that was hosted by Brian Robbins, who is now one of the co-CEOs of Paramount Global. He was president of Paramount Pictures for quite a while. And he, at the time, had come off an acting job in Head of the Class, and was our host. Great guy to work with. So that was prior to ABC. But then after ABC, I wound up working for Disney. This was before Disney bought ABC. They were two separate companies at the time.
Buena Vista.
It was Buena Vista Productions, and I was hired to help develop and ultimately produce a show based on state lotteries, because there's a ton of money that comes into state lotteries, and it was Disney's idea to find a game show that could capitalize on the riches. It wasn't that one. That came a little bit later. But they wanted to do a game show based on lotteries, and I started to work there. And about a month in, after I'm starting to set up pitch meetings, lobbyists apparently picketed Disney and complained that the company should not be involved in legal gambling, and Disney pulled the plug on the show. So there I was, a month into a year-long contract. I did get to do other things and be a part of the development team for a year, but sadly, the project I was brought in to do didn't make it. Then I went to consult for a new network that was about to launch called the Game Show Channel, and we'll come back to the Game Show Channel in a few minutes. I also produced a show for Nova, the science show on PBS, that was honoring the 20th anniversary of Nova, and it was called the Nova Quiz, hosted by Mark Summers. And that opened up the 20th anniversary season of Nova. And from there, I went to Mark Goodson Productions. Now you can put up Illinois Instant Riches. Since I had experience developing lottery shows, Mark Goodson was in the lottery business and hired me to help produce this version of a lottery game show in Chicago, because it was based on the Illinois State Lottery, and it aired nationally on WGN. So that was a great project. And then all of a sudden, the Game Show Network isn't in development anymore. It's about to launch. So I left Mark Goodson, kind of left Mark Goodson, because Mark Goodson was a partner in this new Game Show Network now. And I was part of the launch team of Game Show Network, helped to bring it to air in December 1st of 94, almost 30 years ago. And I developed an interactive telephone game called Decades, which was hosted by Peter Tamarkin, who I had worked with previously on Press Your Luck. And Decades was a show where you could call in on your phone, and based on your touching your buttons on your keypad, you could choose an answer representing a decade in a question. So they'd say, 40s, 50s, or 60s, during which decade was John F. Kennedy elected? And if you pressed the 6 on your keypad, you would be correct, because that represented the 60s. So that was a kind of a breakthrough idea at the time in interactivity. No one had done anything like that. And then after spending the first year of its life at Game Show Network, then I went to work for the Family Channel. And the Family Channel, which was owned by the Robertson family still at the time, was getting into daytime programming in a big way. So they hired me first as the program executive on Home and Family, which was a derivative of the home show that I had done at ABC, again produced by Woody Fraser. So here I am working on a similar show, 2 hours a day live from Universal Studios. And then the network decided to get into the game show business in a big way, and they programmed 5 game shows. We had Shop Till You Drop, we had Shopping Spree, we had Small Talk, we had Wait Till You Have Kids, and we had Family Challenge. And eventually Small Talk went off, and we replaced it by It Takes Two, which was a show that I was really keen on, that I wanted to revive from the 70s. And I convinced Dick Clark to host it. Having gotten to know him with him, I thought it would be a great vehicle for him. So he hosted that. So here I am. It was my first VP of a network title. I had been a VP at Mark Goodson, but this was my first VP title at a network. And that allowed
Was this one of them too, Bob? Was this also?
Oh, yeah. That was from Wait Till You Have Kids. The bonus game involved contestants who were given a series of situations that related to kids. And the psychologist, the resident psychologist, Ellen Winters, and then Ellen, I forgot her name. I'll think of it. Kagan.
You want to phone a friend?
Yeah. They had predetermined whether each of those situations is okay or a problem. So we had a card that one side said okay, one side said the other side said problem, and the contestants had to hold up the side they believed in to see if it matched the psychologist. So your fifth grade daughter comes home and says, hey mom, I just pierced my ears today. Is that okay or is that a problem?
Yeah,
so
right.
That would be the kind of situation.
That was great.
And then from the Family Channel, I left there to go work at FX. Now, you don't think of FX as a show that had non-scripted programming, but FX had launched just 3 years earlier as a non-scripted network. It was a network that was dedicated to, quote, TV made fresh daily. And what that meant was that they had an apartment studio in New York on 26th Street, and it was the home of all of their daytime programming. They had a talk show, a collectible show, a pet show, and a variety of other shows that came in and out. And I was put in charge of that, Personal FX, the collectibles show. And then the network decided that they wanted to change their identity, close up the apartment studio, get rid of all those shows, and go into reality shows, very efficiently made reality shows. So I did 3 shows with them. One had the unusual name of Bobcat's Big Ass Show, which caused a lot of grief with the sales department because they didn't think they could sell a show to advertisers with that word in it. And you got me with Bobcat. And then Penn and Teller's Sin City Spectacular, which was an unbelievably good show, way ahead of its time. It was the new Ed Sullivan Show. It was Penn and Teller doing a variety show with all kinds of bizarre and talented acts in Las Vegas. What a great experience that was. And then we did an improv comedy show as a strip, meaning it was on every day, called Instant Comedy with the Groundlings. And it was the first time the Groundlings had ever done television. And that was a blast. And then after I left FX, I got a call from Michael Cantor, who was executive producer of a new version of Family Feud that was coming back to syndication. Family Feud had come on in the 70s. It went off in the 80s, came back in the 90s or late 80s, went off in the mid 90s, and now it was coming back solely in syndication. And Michael called me and asked me if I wanted to be the supervising producer, number 2, reporting to him. And I was thrilled by the offer. I was working for Fremantle, which is a company that has made its mark in game shows, certainly, and one that I've worked with numerous times. So I was a producer on that first season with Louis Anderson as the host. I think you have a picture of me with Louis. And Louis was just such a wonderful man, so delightful, so funny. It was a great experience with him. I miss him so much.
Oh, yeah.
And then, lo and behold, we're now in August of 1999, and the game show world changes overnight because of a show called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire comes on ABC primetime and redefined not only game shows, but primetime television. And here it was, this spectacle, this incredible dramatic event that was captivating America in ways that no show, game show or otherwise, had done before. And it was on as many as 4 nights a week in prime time. So it comes on the air, it shoots to the top of the ratings in a very quiet summer environment almost immediately within the first day. And on the 3rd day of Millionaire, I get a call from Rack Clark, Dick Clark's son. And I had known, obviously, Dick and his family from when I worked with them on Pyramid. And Rack said, Dad wants you to create a show that can compete with Millionaire. Are you up for that? And I'm like, well, heck yeah. Where do I sign up for that? He said, if you can come up with something in 2 days, we'll take a meeting with you. And if we like it, we'll move forward with it and pitch it with you. I'm like, okay. Dick Clark calls. I stop everything. So I created a show, which ultimately became called Greed.
Chuck Woolery.
Chuck Woolery was the host. It was bought by perhaps the most talented and famous executive ever in reality television, Mike Darnell. Mm-hmm. And Mike at Fox loved this idea because it was a way to one-up Millionaire. And instead of $1 million prize, we had a $2 million prize.
And I remember how incredible the set was, too, and how fast-paced it was, and all the fanfare. I mean, it really got a lot of buzz. It was very well received in the beginning. I remember that vividly.
Well, we pitched the show on August 26th, and on November 4th, it came on the air. It was that fast. And it was a show that it only lasted 44 episodes, about 9 months. But it made its mark on Fox. It did reasonably well, but it couldn't approach the success of Millionaire. And there's the staff of the show. I got to be pretty close with Dick Clark during this process, and it was just an unbelievable adventure to be given a credit on screen as executive producer. Not just executive producer of the show, but executive producer sharing a card with Dick Clark. And when I saw that, I didn't ask for it. I didn't think it was even possible. And sure enough, I'm in the edit bay and I see them putting that on the screen. I'm like, are you sure this isn't a mistake? And they said, no, Dick wanted your name right under his. So that was a pinnacle for me. There I am with Dick and Chuck. So ultimately, as Greed was continuing, Dick hired me as senior VP of development and production. I did that for about a year, and then the phone rang, and there it was, Game Show Network again, and they said, "Okay, you're eligible to come back if you want, and we'll make you head of programming." And it was a significantly better job than I had had 6 years prior. So I approached Dick. I asked him if I could get out of my contract to go work at GSN. He was very gracious about it. He almost paternal, honestly. And he said, how can you not do this? This is your dream. So I went back to GSN. And at GSN, I put on a bunch of shows. The first show I did was a remake of Press Your Luck, because that show was always very special to me. It was called Whammy, because a lot of people didn't know the name Press Your Luck, but if you said it's that Whammy show,
the Whammy, right?
That's what people knew about it. So I figured, let's just call the show Whammy. So that went on. We did a show called Russian Roulette, which involved people, if they were incorrect on an answer, they fell through the floor. And
right.
I got to fall through the floor once. I think you have that. And then we did, there I am falling through the floor on Russian Roulette.
I remember that was a really cool concept. Yeah.
It was a great concept.
That
It's
was
been
different.
imitated many times, but
Yes.
that's the original.
Mm.
Created by a guy named Gunnar Wetterberg, brilliant guy. Mark L. Wahlberg hosted that. Todd Newton hosted Whammy.
Now, when you fell through the floor, did you land on a mattress or something? What was below to capture
Yeah,
you?
it was a pad that stunt
Yeah.
performers use. So
Yeah.
it was a soft landing. It was only about a 6-foot drop. It wasn't like I was jumping off a building. It was basically a person's height of a drop. So as soon as your head disappeared from the set, you were on something. Yeah. And we did a great show called Friend or Foe that was hosted by Kennedy.
Yes.
I worked with Chuck again on Lingo, which just came back yet again on CBS. I did a really cool, fun show called Cram. Graham Elwood hosted that, and it was a show about studying information overnight, and then as you're sleep deprived the next day, going through a series of physical challenges as you're being tested on what you were supposed to have studied. So that was a cool concept. And another show I did there was called Funny Money, National Lampoon's Funny Money, hosted by Jimmy Pardo. Bud Friedman of improv fame was one of the creators and producers of that. It was a joy to work with him. And I think my best accomplishment at GSN was I lobbied very hard to do a documentary about the Press Your Luck scandal. And the first response I got from my boss was, "We don't do documentaries." I said, "I understand that, but you've got to do this one because it's a story that needs to be told." And it was a story that had been 18 years in the making about a gentleman named Michael Larson who appeared on Press Your Luck and had memorized the patterns in the flashing lights on the board to the extent that he could always predict where it was going to land. And by virtue of choosing the square that always had money in it and no whammies, he could amass a tremendous jackpot, well over $100,000, which was unheard of at the time. And after the show, everyone said, "What's going on here?" He explained what he did. He didn't do anything illegal or wrong. He was just smarter than we were because there were only 5 patterns of the light movement, and he memorized all 5. So we did this documentary. That show was the highest rated show in GSN history, and that was a record that lasted for 9 years. There is about to be a feature film. I think it's called The Luckiest Man in America, that is coming out, that is a fictionalized version of that same story. It's now been almost 40 years since it happened on Press Your Luck, but we're about to see this movie come out. I can't wait to see it. So that was a great experience for me.
What is the name of it?
And then I found out about a new network that was launching.
What's the name of the documentary?
Oh, it's called Big Bucks, The Press Your Luck Scandal. I think did I send you a link to that? I might have.
The photo there, yeah.
Okay, it's on YouTube. If you look it up, it's on YouTube.
So there it is, so people can look for that. That's great.
Yeah, Big Bucks, The Press Your Luck Scandal. So I heard about this new network that was coming out called the Fox Reality Channel. And there had never been a network that was dedicated specifically to reality before, but here it was. I was hired as head of programming, and we did a whole bunch of really, really innovative and breakthrough shows. The network had very low viewership. It wasn't a priority for Fox, honestly. So it didn't ever really resonate with a meaningful number of viewers. But we were on for 5 years before it shut down. And I did a lot of cool shows. I did a show called Solitary that lasted 4 seasons. I did a show called The Academy, which was about the training program for the LA Sheriff's Department and then also the Orange County Fire Authority. I did season 2 of Paradise Hotel, which was a really interesting experience. I did what they called the shoulder program of American Idol, called American Idol Extra, which was on immediately after American Idol ended as interviews with the losers and the winner. And a quirky show, which was kind of an homage to Real Housewives of name the location. We did House Husbands of Hollywood. So we did that. And then during that same period when I was at Fox, I got to be a consultant on 2 new shows that have both come back a couple of times. One was Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? And one was Don't Forget the Lyrics. And I also consulted on a Spanish version of Let's Make a Deal called Trato Hecho. And that's pretty much all the Spanish I can speak other than ordering at El Pollo Loco. But I managed to help them out at Monty Hall's request, by the way. And then I got a wonderful opportunity to go work at Hasbro. So Hasbro has a lot of intellectual property in the game space, and they were starting up a studio and needed somebody to run the game show division, where we would take their board games and turn them into game shows. So I was hired to run that department, and we did a lot of fabulous shows. Family Game Night, you see there, won an Emmy for our host Todd Newton, which was amazing. Picturica, based on a board game. The Game of Life, you see there, Scrabble Showdown. And then after that, you can keep that up. I went to GSN yet again, this time not as an executive, but as a producer on a show that ITV Studios, which owned the show, was adapting from a British version called The Chase. And we did the pilot originally for Fox, but it was for Mike Darnell, but then he left Fox, and after he left, the network abandoned the pilot, and GSN picked it up. So I was the executive producer of that show. We worked with a great, talented man called The Beast. His name is Mark Labette. Labette translates to The Beast, but it's more than just a translation. It's a nickname that describes his beastly trivia knowledge. So that was a blast. We did 4 seasons, 51 episodes, and it ran for 8 years every weekday. So it was a powerhouse show for GSN, very highly rated. And then I went out on my own for a little bit, did some producing and consulting on various shows, including a show called Boom with Jeff Aploff's production company and Dick Clark Productions. That was adapted from an Israeli format. To Tell the Truth, I worked on season 2 of that, and I worked on a show for Fox called Superhuman. And then, lo and behold, I get wind that Byron Allen is developing a new game show called Funny You Should Ask. And for those of you who are game show geeks, it's not the same Funny You Should Ask that was on in the 60s. It's a completely different format, just happens to have the same title. And I approached Byron and Scott Satin, who was the showrunner at the time, who passed away a couple of years ago, and I miss him terribly. But Scott and Byron hired me to work on the pilot of Funny You Should Ask. And then when it went to series, I was named one of the executive producers, along with Scott and Byron and Carolyn Folks and Jennifer Lucas, and now Jody Miller and Peter Steen. It's a great, great team. The show's been on for 7 seasons. Just started season 8 a couple days ago, and it's a wonderful show. Imagine if Hollywood Squares and Match Game had a baby, it would be Funny You Should Ask. Okay, it's got 6 celebrities who are attending a party, and the party is filled with jokes. Most of the episodes have 21 jokes told on the episode, and the 2 contestants are trying to guess whether celebrities are giving a correct answer or bluffing them. And I think you have a 15-second clip, right, of Howie Mandel, who's on the show.
Yes, we got a quick one from Howie. Take a look, gang.
Here's an example.
An online poll found that about 2/3 of Americans think law and order is a major problem in the country.
Yeah, that show's on every channel when I turn on the TV. I want to see something else.
So there's 21 of those per episode. If you want a laugh, look it up. It's funnyyoushouldask.tv is our website. You can put in your zip code and it'll tell you what channel and time it's on in your area. But
is there a big staff of joke writers working with you to come up with so many so quick?
We have a really, really great team of content producers who do come up with the jokes and the trivia questions, because it's a trivia question that leads to the joke, which leads to an answer. So yeah, it's a great team, amazing team. So I've been a part of that now for a little over 7 years. I also want to mention a couple of other things I've done as we're about to wrap up, I know. But I've been involved with the 2 television academies. Most people don't realize there are 2 television academies. There's one based here in LA, which is called the Television Academy. I served for 13 years on their board of governors as a governor in daytime and later on in reality programming. I was on their executive committee. I was chair of their awards committee. And now I'm working with the other TV Academy, which is based in New York. It's called the National Academy of Television Arts and Science, NATAS. And I'm on their board of directors, working very closely with the TV Academy in LA. So I'm kind of one of the bridges between the 2 TV academies who broke apart 50 years ago, but are slowly but surely learning how to collaborate and get back together on various initiatives. So I'm very proud to be a part of both of those organizations. I've also been teaching, which has been so incredibly rewarding, Jim. I can't tell you.
Yes.
For the last 8 years, I've been teaching for Syracuse University's Los Angeles semester program. And I teach a course called TV Nation Thursday nights. I love the class. I love my students. I've helped dozens of them get jobs after they graduate. That's been just a great ride. And I just started a new course. I'm not teaching it, but I created the syllabus with Harry Friedman, who is a legendary producer, multi-Emmy winning head of Wheel and Jeopardy for over 2 decades. And he and I created a curriculum that is at Cal State Los Angeles, and soon to expand, we hope, to other universities, teaching game shows on the college level, the first program of its kind in the country that specializes in game shows. So we're very excited about that. Our teachers are Stuart Krasnow and Joey Ortega. It's been 3 weeks. It's actually their 4th class started 20 minutes ago. And only because you're Jim Masters am I not there. I'm with you. It's a great experience to teach, and now to create a syllabus is fun. I was very fortunate enough to do a TEDx talk 3 years ago. The first TEDx talk ever about game shows. I did it at Syracuse University. They have a TEDx program. And I created this 15-minute narrative. It's on YouTube. If you Google Bob Boden TEDx, you'll find it. It's called "What Game Shows Teach You About Life," and it's very simple principles of life that are taught by game shows. And I'm so proud of this piece. It's going to be one of my legacies to future generations. And speaking of that, I have to put in a great plug for this amazing organization I'm a part of. I started 3 years ago as a co-founder of the National Archives of Game Show History. And it is going to be a permanent exhibit at the Strong National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York. And I am donating hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of memorabilia that I've been collecting over the years to the Strong Museum. They have some amazing pieces that they've already collected, and they're going to get more. And this exhibit is going to open in a couple of years. This museum, it's been around for over 20 years, and it's all about interactive play. The National Toy Hall of Fame is located there, the International Video Game Hall of Fame, and exhibits on board games and dolls and pinball machines and action figures and everything you can imagine that surrounds play. That's what this museum is about. I've been there twice. I rarely had more fun in my life in a museum than no, you know what? I've never had more fun in my life in a museum than at the Strong National Museum of Play. And I'm just so proud to be a part of it. The people there are amazing, supportive, and I can't wait for this to open up and for people to be able to visit and spin the Showcase Showdown wheel.
Is there going to be a grand opening of sorts?
They're planning that in the next year or so. So
Let me know, because we're here in the New York area. I would love to get up there for that grand opening, and
I'll get you in touch with them.
Promote it, and that would be fabulous to do.
One other thing that's coming up for me that I'm also very proud of is I'm co-authoring a book, which is going to come out early next year. It's not on game shows, oddly. It's on creative leadership. And I'm working with a colleague of mine from Syracuse named Dr. Rob Carpenter, who has been an amazing partner, amazing friend. And we've put together some terrific interviews with industry leaders. And we are bridging the gap between creativity and leadership, which many people might think are not compatible. But we will prove in many, many ways that not only are they compatible, but that they support each other. So that's exciting. And before I leave you, you have, I think, some pictures of me with some game show people, celebrities over the years, things that just are proud memories of being.
Tell us the folks we're seeing,
So Bob Eubanks, upper left, then Victoria Gross, who is the brand new Jeopardy Masters champion and perhaps the smartest woman in the world. Janice and Diane, who were the models of The Price is Right when I was at CBS. Howie Mandel, who I love and adore. Mark Summers, famous host of Double Dare, many other shows. Don Pardo.
Yes.
The voice of the original Jeopardy and so many game shows
Saturday
and SNL 40 years or so. Dick Clark, Richard Dawson, Regis Philbin. Do you have another slide? Oh, there's more. Wink Martindale, Betty White, Vanna White, not to be confused with each other.
Right.
George Gray, a different color from Vanna White.
How did you're enjoying the Wheel of Fortune with Ryan now? I think that was a nice, smooth transition. I thought it was great.
It's hard to fill Pat Sajak's shoes, but Ryan Seacrest is the perfect fit. He brings an energy and enthusiasm, a joy to the show that is so engaging. I just read that the numbers on Monday night's premiere episode were through the roof. Wheel has started a new era, and Ryan is in charge of it, and we're all lucky to have him there. And Pat, by the way, is coming back for one more season of Celebrity Wheel of Fortune.
I don't know if I told you, but it was when GSN was new. Some of my television colleagues had approached me, and they said, the Game Show Network, Synergy Group, and Sony were coming to the region, and this was all last minute. You should go down, being a TV host, radio host, you should go down and see, what they see in you. Just go down there, whatever happens, happens. So we went to it here in the New York area, and there are thousands of people who showed up from all walks of life, all different backgrounds, driving hundreds of miles. And we went in, and there was this series of wind downs. First, you just had to go on stage. Mark Summers was there. Sony was there. I wasn't sure if you were there, but I know Synergy Group was there. Sony was there. Mark was there, and a lot of other people. And they just had you go out on stage in the beginning just to see if you can even say your name without panicking or sweating. And then from there, they called you back, narrowed you down, narrowed you down, narrowed you down. And then there was one time I got narrowed down from thousands of people to 3.
Whoa!
And I was bowled over, and they created a set on stage, game show set. They brought in contestants, people from the audience. I had the sport coat, the whole bit, and they had it where the buzzers didn't work for one of the contestants, probably to see how you would react when that happens. And I had said something quick and witty. Of course, as we know, you don't point out that there's a disaster happening. You find a way to make the best of it. And everybody erupted laughing, and it was really fantastic. The contestant was laughing. And it just went from there. And I ended up, out of the thousands that showed up, it was the 3rd, which I was very happy with. We got the letter from Game Show Network, which I still have, the Sony 27-inch TV, the whole bit. Met so many fabulous people. Mark Summers was there, and I just thought that I would share that story with you if you didn't know. And that was when they were, getting GSN into the various markets. So they were doing a nationwide search for a game show host.
Yeah. I do remember that. Yeah, I had left there by that time, but I do remember them doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's TV Bob Productions.
That's my website. If you want to find out more about me, I've got all kinds of cool videos on there.
Real quick, I know you do have to go. Why do you think we have such a thirst, such a love for the game shows, my friend?
Well, there's a couple of answers for that. I think it's no secret that we live in a turbulent society right now. There's a lot of divisiveness. There's a lot of negativity that's pervading our culture right now. And game shows are a safe haven. Game shows are a place that people can go to escape, to enjoy, to entertain themselves, to play along, to see how smart they are, how talented they are, to laugh at the jokes. I'm funny, you should ask. To just be involved with television in a way that doesn't highlight all the negativity that we're faced with every day. And to me, game shows are the American dream. It's wish fulfillment. It's come on down. It's, win a new car. It's, where else do you find something that is as genuine, as authentic, as real as game shows that you can participate in, whether you're yelling at your TV or you actually get to be on the show. And to me, there's just nothing more special in our society than game shows. So I'll
this question and wanted this answered, and I figured I'd throw it in. Wants to know if you what was it like working with Dick Clark, and did you stay in touch with him up until his passing? Thanks for that question.
I did stay in touch with Dick Clark until he passed away. I always looked at Dick Clark as almost a dad. By the time I worked for him, I had lost my dad. And here was this man who was an idol of mine, who in high school, I would literally run down the street to get his autograph coming out from the stage door at the Pyramid Show, which I went to frequently in high school. And then here I am working with him on Pyramid, and then here I am working with him to develop a show. And it was a dream come true in so many different ways. He trusted me. He treated me well. He understood me, which a lot of people in this business don't understand, how you can be a fan and a professional at the same time.
Right, exactly.
I've struggled with that my whole career. People.
Me too. I've interviewed people that you're very, you admire them, but you have to sort of, right?
Yeah. So he got me. He understood that. When I worked for him, he remembered that I had chased him down the street, and his nickname for me in the office was the Stalker. So it was the most wonderful relationship that I ever had with someone who was famous. I don't crave celebrities. It's not my thing. I'm lucky to be involved in the Hollywood community to the extent I am, but I don't hobnob with celebrities. I'm not invited to. But the people who are my special people are people like Dick Clark and all the other great hosts of all time who have changed people's lives in so many positive ways.
Yeah.
You don't find that in any other medium. And to be a part of that is just, it's a gift that I could never top.
Had you ever thought about doing it as a host yourself, dabbling in the on-air part, talent part?
Well, if I had talent, I would have pursued that. But I'm pretty good hosting a run through that nobody sees.
Right.
But
you're good at finding the talent, right? Yeah.
Yes, I'd much rather help other people, celebrities, than to try to be one myself. I don't have the chops for it, and it's not my thing.
You keep the train on the track. Yeah.
I support the talent and make them famous, and I'm perfectly fine with that role.
It's been, as somebody who has studied this in school and have dreamed of being in these industries since a kid, television, radio, broadcast, all of it, now internet. It's really an honor and pleasure to have an opportunity to chat with you. As I mentioned to our viewers, and I know you have to scoot off, he was also a guest with Mark Summers, John Davidson, and so many others on our episode celebrating Peter Marshall. John Barber was with us recently as well from Real People. Some of these folks you've heard mentioned have been here on the show. But when we had you on that day, I was very well aware of your career and your background and your contributions. I said, I've got to get Bob back because I really want to celebrate what he's done and just feel his energy and his love of the industry, a real respect and love of the industry and knowing what it brings to people's lives. And that's why you do what you do. Money, anything else that comes, sure, that pays the bills, that's great. That grows as you go along. But you could see in some of those photos and some of those early clips, you've had a passion and a dream and a desire early on. And it took you in a trajectory that has been extraordinary. And I just say, because many times you referenced, and then the phone rang. Thank God you pay your phone bills so you can answer those phones.
Yeah.
I mean, God, we are the ones who are the beneficiaries of that. Bob Boden, you are the best. You have a home here at the Jim Masters Show Live series. Spread the word about the show. And of course, if you're ever looking for a host for something, you know where we are. That's what I do. And really a privilege and an honor. And I hope you enjoyed the time with me as much as I have with you, my friend.
I have, Jim. You're great at what you do. You put together a tremendous show with all the stuff that I sent you, and you organized hundreds of pictures and videos, and I so appreciate the work that you put in and allowing me to go through 6,000 shows in 90 minutes. So thank you for all that. And
the pleasure is all mine.
Thanks for playing, everybody.
Absolutely. Everybody be surprised, not only as I'm talking to you, am I hosting, but I'm also doing all the shots, the graphics, the background, the whole thing at the same time. I'm like an octopus. There's several hands moving below the camera. Keep it going, my friend. Come back and see us again, okay? We loved having you here, Bob, and thanks for sharing your life with us.
Take care.
Be well.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. Take care. All right. What a terrific conversation with an icon, a legend in the industry, responsible for so many, as we said in our promotions, of your favorite reality shows, game shows, really a deep focus on the game shows as well. The incomparable Bob Boden here. Now, that might, for some viewers, be a household name. Well, if you look at the credits of a lot of the shows and you just dig in deep, you'll see that, again, a lot of these series that we've loved all these years, he's been involved in and he's made happen. And he's worked with teams of people. And he works with Byron Allen. And of course, Byron Allen You know him, of course, as a host and a producer and so much more. And he does the Unleashed with the comics as well, that series. Did you know that his company also owns the Weather Channel? Yes, the Weather Channel. Byron Allen has his hands in so many parts of our industry, and it's extraordinary. He's really somebody else that's had a tremendous passion for broadcast, for television, for communication. And he's just really amazing. I would love to have Byron Allen on as a guest too. And boy, what a great conversation we would have, because I've followed his career, as an on-air person myself along the way. And again, these are folks that you may have grown up with, folks and shows that you have always revered, admired. And in this case, with the game shows, they make you feel good, right? They take you away from the chaos of life, take you away from some of the nuttiness and the craziness and all the stuff that goes on in our daily living, and they take you away from it all. And you can actually participate and root for the contestants, and sometimes you can play at home and all the rest. We really appreciate Bob joining us again, taking you literally behind the scenes of some of the most iconic, legendary television series, game shows, and even in the world of reality, documentaries, scripted, unscripted, broadcast, incredible. When you think about it, there's so many different things that he has had an opportunity to touch upon. I mean, he was even on the dating game. He's really touched every aspect of the industry, and he's quite humble about it as well. There were many more videos and photos and all that we could show of his career, but we just wanted to sprinkle in some things now, and we're going to have him back. And so cool that he's part of the Strong National Museum of Play, which is in Rochester, New York. That's going to be an amazing place with so many cool things. He said he's donating several $100,000 worth of game show paraphernalia to that museum. And he's on the board of this and a director of that and a producer of this, that, and the other thing. One thing, and I'll talk to him after the show. Usually we chat with the guests after, but and we chat with them before the show starts and we chat with them after. I want to know when he sleeps. Sometimes I wonder when I sleep too, but when does he sleep? He's got his hands in everything, which is truly absolutely amazing. And he's worked with some of the veterans in the industry as well, the Peter Marshalls, the Dick Clarks. He's worked with Betty White, all the folks that you've seen on the game shows, the contestants, the celebrities, the hosts. He's worked with most, if not all of them. Mark Summers, again, has been a guest on our show a couple of times. He was a singular guest, and then recently on the Peter Marshall tribute special we did. You may also remember we did a celebration of 50 years of Wheel of Fortune with author and pop culture historian Wesley Hyatt. He was with us recently as well. Check that episode out. We also did a phenomenal tribute to Bob Barker, host of The Price is Right and so many other incredible shows. And when he passed, we pulled together an incredible group of people in the industry as my special guest to celebrate the iconic Bob Barker. Wink Martindale, the legendary Wink Martindale, was a guest on the show as well. We even had Bob Barker's PR guy, Roger Neal, was with us as well. He was his PR man for many, many years. And Randy West, of course, one of the announcers on Price is Right Live, and actually got a chance to announce on the Price is Right series. Dear friend of ours was a guest on the show, and so many other greats. And that was when we were celebrating Bob Barker and the Price is Right when Bob passed. You can see all these episodes. There are hundreds of episodes of the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show series where we're bringing back the lost art of conversation, kind of like Dick Cavett, Carson, Regis, which Bob talked about, working with Regis, and so many others, sort of bringing that style back here like a television show, but online with JMS. And thanks to all the great comments, everybody. We really appreciate all of the comments, and we love having all of you here. It means the world to us. Don't forget to leave a comment on the YouTube channel, which is where we house all of these great episodes. If you joined us late, boy, this is a great episode to check out. We're talking about some of your favorite shows over the years and some of the people that made them all happen. And of course, Bob, I tell you, really, what a storied life he has lived and continues to live. And he really is a veteran of the industry. And again, he's also executive producer of Funny You Should Ask. And if you haven't seen that, check that out as well. As I said, he's producing this, he's producing that, he's creating this, he's helping launch that. And if you go back and you watch the introduction of our show, you see some of the incredible things I talked about that he's done and that he's doing, and also educating as well and creating various seminars and courses at Syracuse University and others to teach those who are wanting to study these fields and these industries, which I think is absolutely amazing. And yeah, that story I mentioned where I did have an opportunity, it was a very last minute thing. I was told by some of my television colleagues that the Game Show Network, GSN, when they were going throughout the nation looking for a national host for one of their game shows, there were thousands of people that showed up. I found out like really last minute, went down, and it was really cool. There were thousands of people from all walks of life who came, who were hoping that they would have that one chance to be a game show host. And boy, was that a cool experience. And I came in, I placed third out of thousands of people, which I just wanted to see what they thought. And it was really terrific. Got a chance to meet the folks from Game Show Network and from Sony and from Synergy Group, sort of their marketing arm. Mark Summers was there. That's when I first met Mark. And it was really a cool experience. Still have the letter from the Game Show Network. Still have no, I don't still have the 27-inch television. We kept that for a long time, but it finally went, and we replaced it with a flat screen. But yeah, that was a very, very cool experience. And, I wanted to see what they saw, being a television host, radio host myself all these years. And it was the response was wonderful. And I really appreciate that. So cool stuff. Thanks everybody again. All these comments coming in. If you enjoyed the episode and all the episodes you enjoy, give this episode a like on our YouTube channel. Click the like, thumbs up icon, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. We would love that. And click the notification bell so you never miss any of our episodes. You'll be alerted about all our great celebrity friends and guests. Leave a comment as well underneath this episode. There's a comments section right below. Comment, interact, say hi, let us know where you're watching from. What are some of your favorite game shows and reality shows? Maybe some of the ones we talked about with Bob Boden today on this episode. Let us know who are some of the hosts, the shows, some of the great memories. And we love that. We love interacting with you. We love having you here. We thank you for all that subscribe and share the links and comment and everything else that you do. And if this was your first time watching the Jim Masters Show live series, this is a unique show, something quite special, very interactive and a lot of fun. And every episode, something different. Our guests come from not just one background of study or of career path or passion. Our guests, if you look at our series, our guests, every episode is something different, unique, different guests from different walks of life and levels of celebrity. And it's so cool. That's what keeps this show fresh and alive and unique and special for all of you. We work really hard to put all these shows together and balancing it with my professional work and broadcast. Sometimes it's like being on a balance beam, but love doing it for all of you. And if you enjoy what we're doing here, certainly let us know. Don't keep it a secret. Spread the word. Takes a village. Share the links. Come see us again here at the Jim Masters Show live series. And we love it. We love our guests. We love our viewers. We have the best viewers out there from all around the world. We hear from all of you, and we thank you so much for watching live or watching this Memorex, which means watching this later on in the archives. We do save everything archived for you as well. One more time, you've got to thank our very, very special guest, Bob Boden, joining us here, coming to us from Tinseltown. Very busy guy. He's got a lot of things brewing. He's got his hands in a lot of things. Emmy-nominated producer of some of TV's favorite game shows, reality shows, and lots more. Producer, of course, of Funny You Should Ask, and it's really extraordinary. He did that TED Talk recently as well. He himself, graduated magna cum laude from UCLA, Bachelor of Arts in Theater Arts. He received a master's degree in negotiation, conflict resolution, and peace building from California State University. Did you know that? He's also a proud member of Phi Beta Kappa and Phi Beta Kappa by honor societies. He also attended the prestigious Global Leadership Conference at Dartmouth's Tuck School of Business. Again, he's been doing this for a long time. And again, he co-founded the National Archives of Game Show History, which will open in 2026 at the Strong National Museum of Play. So the Strong National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York is there, but the National Archives of Game Show History, that's going to be absolutely amazing. And again, he's very involved with being the chair of the Primetime Awards Committee and the Daytime Awards Committee as well for the Television Academy, currently on the board of the National Board of Directors of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. And again, he's worked on all of these great shows and all these specials. And this is just really scratching the surface. Hundreds of shows, television series, and specials, 12 different countries. It's quite amazing, isn't it? Wow. Love talking about this stuff. And look at this. There he is. Skip from Real People. We took a look. 10th anniversary of Price is Right. There he is, way back with Weird Al Yankovic. Great stories attached to all of these great photos and clips and so much more. If you guys enjoyed it, certainly let us know. We love having you here. This is your host, Jim Masters. Of course, thanking you for your time this time. Till next time, come see us again. Let us know you're out there. Spread the word. And we really appreciate all these great comments coming in live. When you see me look this way, I'm seeing the comments sprinkling in live. We thank you so much for those. And be sure and leave a comment underneath the episode on the channel as well. So that's a wrap for this episode. And we love having you here. We're going to slowly fade to black after our credits roll and the Jim Masters singers and orchestra pop in here. But it's always a pleasure to have you here. We love having you with us. And come see us again. We've always got something brewing for all of you to make you smile, to make you think and have a good time, and to connect with you. Don't forget again to take care of yourself, love one another, and we love having you here. Jim Masters. Take care, be well. See you again next time right here on The Jim Masters Show. Cheers.